Are you wasting time learning Ruby on Rails in 2020? Well, you reached the right video. Let me explain. This video was brought to you by DigiLink Academy, your #1 source to learn how to make money programming and get that six-figure salary you desire. Our academy have a wide range of courses, including 3K in 30 days, our mentorship membership program, and much more. When you sign up for our free community, you get access to our membership community with like-minded professional who's going to help take your career to the next level. So let's take the first step to get started and really take your career to the next level with our 7-step money guide today. So let's go ahead and click the link below to sign up for our free 7-step guide to help you get your career started today. What's up, guys? So you're trying to learn Ruby on Rails and you're trying to figure out if it's the right move for you, and I want to make sure I give you some good pointers so that you can make a right decision, so you don't waste a ton of time learning a framework that really not going to get you a job, and it's going to be a hard experience to actually go through all that and find out that it was a waste of time. So I want to help you guys with that. Just like any programming language, guys, I have some points here to cover so that it'll make your decision a whole lot easier. It's different for different developers in different stages of your career, guys. As a junior developer, you would make decisions versus if you're lead senior developer on the tail end of your decision as far as which programming languages to learn. And I'm going to give you guys some pointers and we can dive right in. The first factor, guys, is job in demand market. You guys already know I'm a huge fan of letting the market decide which programming language to learn based on the projects that particular client have or that employer, and you're going to learn based off of that tech stack, the programming languages they use. So yes, Ruby on Rails, depending on where you are, it's a really good programming or framework to learn. It has a decent market share. It's not great, but it's present. Early mid 2000s, around 2004 when it really came out, a lot of people, it shot through the roof because it was one of those things that, hey man, I can do much more web development work with this tool compared to what was out there on the market back then. Things change, guys. We have a lot more options, a lot more people gonna start leaning towards Node.js, some PHP solutions out there, and much more. So it has a lot more competition, but it has decent market value, guys. As far as just high level, low level languages, it's a high level framework, so it's easy to learn. So there's nothing much to talk about there. So that's a good way to get started, being a high level programming language. You guys already know the lower level programming languages, which is C, C++. They're much faster. The write time is terrible as far as just writing an application from end to end. So I would put Ruby on Rails, as far as just writability, is really good, and that's actually one of the points. Writability, the write time speed is pretty good on it, so I would definitely lean towards that. The learning curve is really good too, guys. You guys seeing a lot of positives here, so I'm gonna really kind of try to play neutral here, so that depending on what you need is going to really help you guys. Me personally, I don't use it a lot nowadays in 2020 because I use other platforms like PHP, WordPress, that heavily leans towards PHP. A lot of JavaScript front end, as far as just the back end server side stuff though. When you start to get in Ruby on Rails and the different frameworks and things like that, it gets a little iffy. I do have projects that I do technically use it as, but as far as just diving deep to really expand that particular code source and that repository, not gonna happen in 2020, at least the projects that I'm working on. But it may be in your benefit to learn it. But guys, I'm gonna give you some more tips here. The growth. This is the kicker. If you don't take anything from this call, know this, and this applies to all programming languages and framework. 5 years ago, you could have got a job basically anywhere doing Ruby on Rails because this is a hot thing out. It was the latest and greatest technology. Think of how Python is now. That's how Ruby on Rails was back probably 7 years now, about 7 years ago. It was the Python of its era. So back then, everybody was teaching it, the schools was teaching it, the hot Silicon Valley startups was using it. So it kind of died off from there as far as just the sexiness, that's what I would call it. So you got to kind of keep that in mind, guys. It's very important to know what phase of a life cycle particular framework or programming language is in. I would say Ruby on Rails are more on the tail end. It's not finished, it's not dead, it's not going to be dead for a long time. I think it has enough market share and a lot of legacy applications out there that leverages, and you got a couple of other software companies that are really using it and requiring developers to come in with that knowledge. So it's going to always have a solid demand. If I had to put a rating on the demand, it's probably on the 5-4 side of the fence, which is pretty solid, pretty average for markets that are bigger, like in Jackson where I live and others tertiary smaller markets. You may not be able to find a lot of work there, but Silicon Valley, larger cities, New York, Chicago, LA, Silicon, Austin, you'll be able to find jobs. So kind of keep that in mind too, guys. So yes, I think you should learn it under certain conditions, but beware. If it's one of those things where you got an employer who needs that particular skill set and they say, if I had this, I'll hire you, then learn it. I would prefer you to have multiple options there as far as just employers who's requiring that particular programming language or framework, because you can be that COBOL effect. And what I call a COBOL effect is you can actually go on Indeed and find a lot of jobs that, and when I say a lot, I say some jobs that needs COBOL developers. The problem is if you get in hard times and you want to leave that company and you want that same opportunity as far as just using your existing skills for the most amount of jobs available out there, that's when it's going to come back to bite you in the butt. I think if you're niching down to a specific job and you're looking for that company who's going to pay you a lot of money for that one programming language or that skill, then you're good. But once you start leaving that place and try to take those same skill sets and have a seamless crossover, that's when you have problems. And I can see this being a problem with Ruby on Rails 5 years from now. Like just say PHP, you can basically find a lot of companies that leverage PHP, MySQL, Eagle SQL Server, C#, Java. They pretty good as far as just the readability and people recruiting you. I'm pretty confident any hiring manager who looking for a C# developer, if you got Java experience, enough experience, they'll hire you right on the spot. The same with other programming language like PHP to Python, same thing. They'll hire you just like that. COBOL, they'll hire you, but they'll check to see what other options are out there, and you're not on the top of their priority. But after all of the filters and they can't find their ideal solution, maybe they'll give you an opportunity. We don't want that, guys. We want more opportunity than that. But that being said, guys, I talk about this in my 7-step guide below. If you haven't already, go sign up for that, and then we kind of talk about as far as just the Ruby on Rails or any high-level framework, what's your strategy to get a job and really get that 6-figure salary you deserve. And if you already got my 7-step money guide, check out my premium courses, guys. Premium courses and my free guide get you access to the community of like-minded professionals and developers who are going to help you along the way and help you in that mentorship program. So links are below. Let's get back to it, guys. I got a lot of angles as far as just community. Huge as far as just which programming languages you use, especially at the beginning during the tutorial phase and also during a project phase when you're trying to get a specific project done. I personally think Ruby on Rails got a solid community. It's not just great like it used to be, but it's still pretty solid. A lot of the knowledge there is a little outdated because you don't have those people like the C# and the Java people who's just really hammering home all the time, but it's still solid, guys. So I would give it a community. I would give it a community about a 6 or 7. So it's pretty solid. Corporate backing. This is the main thing that separates Java and C# from a lot other programming languages. Java and technically PHP, but I'm just going to use Java as an example. It has Oracle behind it. And when I say corporate backing, I'm not saying a company that uses their technology. I'm talking about a company who's monetizing you using the technology. So Microsoft with C#, it's in their interest to push C#. That plays a role in how long a programming language is sustainable. It can work in your benefit if you have a huge company behind a programming language. On the flip side of it, if they decide to abandon it, like Apple and Apple and Objective-C, it can go overnight. And if you learn Objective-C, you kind of screwed. But not technically, you can learn Swift and be good. But the point is, guys, you can really kind of position yourself, guys. So at the end of the day, guys, corporate backing, it's been around for about 16 years. The only downside I have about Ruby on Rails is the competition. You're gonna always have somebody leaning towards Node.js or PHP. They're really cutting away at Ruby's market share, and I don't see Ruby having a unique standout features that's going to allow them to keep the competition away. The only thing that's really keeping it alive is the legacy applications that were written in it earlier. It had millions of applications that were written in it, and the difference between that and PHP, people are still pushing PHP, like the freelance community and stuff and all that. Ruby on Rails got a few people pushing, but nowhere near the level of PHP and some of the other enterprise applications or frameworks. So guys, do you agree with me? Comment below. Do you disagree with me? Comment below. Like, subscribe to the content. If you have additional questions, comment below. I have my 7-step guide here. Go sign that up and check out my premium courses. I'll see you guys in the next video. It's free. Peace.